Today, we've invited 3 Japanese school graduates to discuss if it's worth studying Japanese in Japan.
Hello, my name is Sabria. I studied Japanese in Japan and I have GLPT N2.
Hello, my name is Joanna. I've studied Japanese in Japan and I have GLPT N1.
Hello, I'm Eric. I studied Japanese in Japan and I passed the JLPT N2.
What type of school did you attend in Japan? And how would you rate your experience?
So I studied in Japan for 2 months on a tourist visa. It was just a summer class. I think it was GLPT N3, kind of conversational, maybe advanced a little bit level.
Yeah, I've studied in Japan for 9-10 months. It was an exchange student program that I enrolled in with my university and my host university. We just had like beginner classes or advanced classes. The level was like pretty mixed in that sense.
So I studied in a Japanese language school. It was a 1.5-year program. It starts from a very beginner level, N5 and 4, and it goes up to N1 if you study for 2 years. I studied for 1.5 years, so it was more or less N2 level, I would say.
What were some of the deciding factors that led you to move to Japan to study Japanese?
Definitely, I think the environment is forcing you to read and then speak and then just using everyday life Japanese.
Yeah, I think so too, because like when you study, like for example, Japanese in your home country, the problem that you have is you enter the class, you speak Japanese, you're getting out of the class, Japanese is over. But here you're like 100% all the time, have to talk in Japanese, have to read Japanese, have to do all your daily activities in Japanese. And I think that's a very, very good motto, I would say, to like make you speak and use it like you're forced to, as you said, yeah. You have no other choice, and that's very good.
I mean, I also agree it's way better and easier to study in Japan, but there's many people that just go to class and then they don't talk to anybody else outside, so maybe just you go to a convenience and order something. So I think you still have to make an effort to practice if you want to get better.
What did you struggle the most with while studying Japanese in Japan?
So, classes only in Japanese.
Teaching methods.
So no contacts at first in Japan and very different culture. The first couple months were more difficult than not knowing anybody, I would say. Like the culture is very different. It depends on where you come from. If you're maybe from an Asian country, it's probably easier for you. Otherwise, I would say it may be difficult to get to know people. But yeah, I mean, as a student, you always have more chances to meet people. So I think that's good, but depends on the person, I would say.
Yeah, for me it was the way they were teaching Japanese in classes that was kind of hard, because I came from an environment in France, for example, where for language classes we have a lot of interactions and we have a lot of, I would say, occasions to use it. Teachers would give us printouts and like read the printouts, and we're like supposed to like stay here and listen. I had like, I think, kind of hard times getting used to this method. It's a very like, I would say, linear one way to teach things. So it was not all the teachers, but a lot of teachers were like this, and I had the impression that I would go out of class and I've been taught something new, but it didn't sink in, kind of. So I had like a little bit of hard times with this kind of teaching style, I think.
For me, it was the classes only in Japanese. You go inside this environment where everything from the moment you step in the classroom, everything is in Japanese. So the teacher is telling you, okay, open this book at this page and then let's do this and that. And where you're not used to this type of vocabulary, it can be very confusing at the beginning. So it doesn't last too long, but this was a little bit of the struggle because I really felt behind. Also the fact that I joined a summer class, so that means that the people who started in April had more time to practice their Japanese, so I was a little bit behind just because of that.
Yeah, I didn't have this problem because I had my teacher back in university in France. he was only speaking to us in Japanese. He was like, this is a Japanese class, so we're talking in Japanese. So I got used to like this, like kind of like classroom environment when it was all in Japanese. But for me, it was more like, the teaching style that is so different and so much more passive than what I was used to, yeah.
I mean, I had a different problem at the beginning related, which is that I was put in a easier level than I should have. But because I didn't study kanji, I couldn't go to the next level basically. So the first 3 months were kind of easy, but I mean, it was good just to get used to studying, I guess. So in the end, I think it was fine, but...
What did you enjoy the most about it?
So meeting new people.
For me, it was making new friends and the total immersion.
Slowly getting better and understanding more in Japanese, and yeah, of course, getting to know many different people.
I really liked the environment compared to where I was before, because it was my home country, so you have only French people attending the university. Going to the Japanese language school, you had people from many different parts of the world, and so this opens up your perspective on studying, and then you discover their goals as well, which some of them were very inspiring, even though I was only there for 2 months. But there were some people who wanted to go to a university, and it was very inspiring to talk to those people. So very good experience to meet new people.
I can relate, because for me too, it was my first international experience. So I had a lot of people from different countries in my class. We were maybe 8 or 9. But what I enjoyed the most is I had very easy time making Japanese friends, from the very first day I arrived in Japan in a bar. So I was in a kind of a total immersion, especially at first, because I had some kind of trouble to make friends in class, because everyone was from the same country. There were no French people, not a lot of European people either. So I felt kind of left on the side. From morning when I wake up to the time I would go to bed, in a total Japanese immersion. It was very tiring, but I was like, oh, that's exactly what I came for, so I was super happy about that.
Okay. For me, I would say, of course, getting to know many different people is probably the best thing. I made many friends from very different backgrounds, so that was very good. At the beginning, you don't feel it much, but once you study for half a year, 1 year maybe, you kind of start to be able to talk back to people in Japanese. Of course, at first you just understand more and more and more, and then at the end you can actually hold a conversation, and that's very rewarding, I would say. So yeah, that was good.
In your opinion, did you have enough free time outside of class for a hobby or a part-time job?
Yes. I think Japanese universities, hours are very, very light. I only had maybe 18, 20 hours of classes per week, which back in my university in France, it was 35-ish something. And you don't even have a lot of homeworks at university either. So yeah, I completely had a lot of free time. Not even talking about the very, very long spring vacations or summer vacations, yeah.
Yes, definitely. Even though I was just in a summer program at a Japanese language school, I only had the morning classes, so it was from 9 to 1, I think. So just 4 hours per day, 5 days a week. I can definitely imagine somebody just doing their hobby or go do a part-time job in the afternoon to pay for the daily expenses. But yeah, definitely a lot of time to do something and everything else. Yeah.
What about you? It depends.
Depends.
Very curious about that.
So yeah, I think yes, but yeah, it depends. So I would say you can do it. Depends a lot on the school. You may get a lot of homework. There are levels of schools that are more demanding and less demanding. So if you're coming to a language school, you should check which type of school it is. Some schools don't recommend working at the beginning just to get used to it, or they even prohibit it, and it's what I've heard, for the first 3 months. But yeah, if you need it, you can always work, of course. I also worked from after my first year, I would say. Of course, studying at the morning and working in the evening. Of course, during the weekdays, I didn't have time for anything else. but of course you still have the weekend. So I would say yes, maybe it depends a lot. So, but yeah, you can do it.
How much did you pay for your total study?
Don't hate me.
Wow.
Yeah, so in France, university is almost free. And when you do an exchange program, you pay for your university fee. So I paid my €5, aka 700 yen, 1 year university, and I went to Japan for a year. Yeah. Yeah, thank you, France. Thank you for having one of the best educative system.
Not sponsored.
Not sponsored, yeah. No, yeah, so I was very, very lucky, and I think also very, very privileged, because in my classroom there were a lot of American students, and they were talking about like the price they had to pay in their university in order to be able to come here, which was like insane. We're talking about like over 10,000 euros or like 20,000 euros something. And they were like, what about you? And so it was always very awkward, because I didn't want to say, being like, oh, you know, not that much, like France, taxes, like, yeah. So yeah, I felt like very, very bad. And also like the first time in my life, I realized how much we are very privileged for education in France, and we should be super thankful for that.
For me, this is just 2 months, just to keep that in mind. And it was the cheapest at the time. This price was the lowest amongst the other Japanese school that was available for the summer program. And I was able to pay with some paid internship I did in the previous year. At the end of the bachelor degree in France, you're supposed to do that, and sometimes it's paid. So it was just pocket money. I just used my pocket money to pay for this. Only 2 months.
So a lot of money. Yeah, if you look at language schools in Japan, it said it costs around 10,000 for the 2-year program. Depends on which currency you use for 1 year and a half. Of course, it depends a lot on the school. It can go up and can go down a bit, but that should be accurate, I would say.
Did you struggle financially during your time studying in Japan?
So I had a bit of savings, and of course I also had a bit of support from my family. So at the beginning it was fine. Then once I kept extending and extending, then at the end, of course, I struggled a bit. So that's when I started working part-time. Overall it was fine, I would say, but it depends a lot on your background. You may need to work, so yeah.
Yeah, me not at all, because in France, I had my normal social scholarship of 400 euros per month. And after I applied for my university scholarship for like students that have like good grades, it was around 80,000 yen per month. And since we were from this university, like if we were living in the apartment complex that the university would like introduce to you, rent was capped to 30,000 yen per month. So it was like a very decent, nice apartment. You know, like I think the university was maybe paying the landlord. I don't know, but it was 30,000 yen. So I remember like the yen price changed a lot over the last years, but it was in 2016 before the inflation, and I was a student and I had like 150,000 yen per month just in scholarship that are not loans. I didn't have to give it back. So yeah, no, not at all. I was very, very lucky.
For me, yes. So I came with a tourist visa, so I cannot do part-time, and I came with a budget that essentially came from pocket money. And so I had a specific budget for those 2 months in Japan. And when you have too much time, when you're a tourist, when you want to do things in Japan, your budget is out pretty quickly. So I remember at the end, I was barely eating enough just to make it. But I was still enjoying, I was still enjoying the life and everything. It's just that I didn't know where to shop the cheapest also. I was living in a share house at this time, and towards the end, the people in the share house with whom I was friends, they finally introduced us to the gyomusupa. And so we were able to do our groceries at the gyomusupa and eat cheaply until the end of the stay. So it was okay. It was okay.
Were you already studying Japanese before coming to Japan?
I had studied Japanese for 5 years already. It was kind of helpful for the daily life or just reading a few of the kanjis, but I was definitely not used to it at all.
Yeah, I mean, I studied for about 2 years, around 3 hours per week, and I thought I could maybe speak and understand, but yeah, when I came, it was not like that. So reading, of course, I couldn't read much, just very basic. So I just could order in stores or restaurants, so it was very, very basic. So I would say it helped. So if you can study a bit before coming, it's good, but yeah, don't expect to understand much at the beginning.
And for me, it was pretty different. I've studied like for 2 years, and I was studying for the N2 at that time. When I first came, I remember I was struggling a lot with like keigo. Japanese people in shops or in like services are talking is not the Japanese that you have in your textbook. So I was like, oh my God, I thought I could talk, but I cannot. And this was a little bit hard regarding that. But for making friends, it was very, very helpful because I met a lot of people. Like on the first day I came to Japan, and some of them are still like very close friends and still present in my life. And I don't think I would have been able to make that many good friends if I could not speak Japanese before coming. So yeah, for me it was very, very helpful.
Were you able to find a job immediately after graduating?
Yes, I found a job while I was studying in Japan. I was doing an English teacher arubaito from one of my acquaintances' school. I told them about the fact that I wanted to stay in Japan, that I was thinking about it. So basically, this school and another like kind of sister school were okay to like give me like 2 part-times and like get together to like take care of the working visa to make me stay. And I was planning on working there, but I decided to go back to France to do my master's degree because I had the impression that if I was staying at this time, I will never do my master's in the end. And I would just stay like this and be an English teacher forever in Japan. So yes, I found one, but yeah, I didn't take it and I went back.
For me, it's obvious. I was on a tourist visa, so for those who don't know, you cannot switch from a tourist visa to a working visa while in Japan, so this is first. The second is I was in the middle of my studies too, so I needed to go back to complete it. And so not right after graduation. It's not even graduation for me because it was just 2 months. But yeah, no, not for me.
For me, it took about 1 year to get a full-time job. I had a part-time for this whole year and from before. I wanted to find something related to what I studied and what I wanted to do, basically. So that's why it took about a year, I would say. Maybe I could have found something before, but yeah, I was looking for something very specific. Depends on what you studied. If you studied at university, maybe you can stay for like a whole year with while looking for a job. But if you're from a language school, you normally cannot stay. But because it was during COVID time, I got various extensions, and I was able to stay thanks to that. And yeah, that's probably one of the reasons why I was a bit more picky, because I knew I could stay. But otherwise, if you want to find a job, you probably have to start before graduating. So yeah.
I see. Yeah, that must have been hard, like with the COVID going on, to find a job.
Yeah.
What did studying in Japan offer you on a personal or professional level?
Oh yeah, that was the hard question.
Confidence.
Lots of job opportunities and the ability to live my life.
Many great experiences and meeting many great people as well, and getting to a business Japanese level.
I think it's the case for everything that is travel. Like whenever you travel, you gain something, whether it's a new culture or anything. And for this time, since it was travel plus study at the same time, it really, I feel, leveled up my confidence in speaking Japanese and meeting new people speaking Japanese. So I definitely noticed in my next year in university that I was more able to speak to the foreign exchange student, the Japanese foreign exchange students, to have normal conversation and to become more and more fluent up to the point where I would come to Japan again and they stay forever.
No, that's a good one. I hear you. But yeah, for me it was lots of job opportunities on the like professional level, because as soon as I got like GLPT N2, N1, then basically you have so many job opportunities that open up. As you know, Japan is like completely okay to hire someone that has no experience in the field. Like I had the impression by just having Japanese N1, N2, and also English proficiency, I could do like any kind of like office work that was like international related, or even like you can even start like a career in IT, like when you have just the GLPT, which is kind of crazy to me. But yeah, it was very nice to that regard. And on the professional level, like for me, it was just living my life. I feel good in Japan. I feel happy here, and just having the ability to talk with everyone, to do, you know, my daily life activities, my fun activities, is making me happy. So it brings me a lot of happiness, I would say. Yeah, that's it. Sorry, it was a silly answer.
So mine is also a bit cliche, I would say. It's having many great experiences during my time studying and after that, of course, and meeting many people. Yeah, very cliche, but and on a professional level, yeah, I got to a level where I could work in Japanese, which is pretty good. And yeah, I guess that opens. I'm not doing it at the moment, but it opens opportunities. So yeah, I guess that's a good thing, I would say.
Do you want to study Japanese in Japan? Head over to GaijinPot Study via the link in this video's description to start your application now.